Welcome back to another episode of the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Mudgear Battle Alliance Pro and Strength and Speed owner, Evan Preparis. I got a guest with me online. Before we get to him, a quick word from this episode's sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Yolked. Yolked is a supplement you take with protein after your workout, and clinical trials show 3 times the muscle growth. So it's a great product. It tastes really good. It's actually like one of the best supplement products, period. Made from fertilized egg yolk that's made safe to eat. And it's like a powdered substance. You can sprinkle it on stuff. You can take it straight. I like to take it straight. You can use code STRENGTH20 and save 20% off every single order from yolked.com. The Mudgear Battle Alliance Pro team also uses it. So if anyone wants second opinions, you can hit them up or just check out their website. And they've been a big supporter of the sport. They made it out to Savage Race, and they've been supporting the team for the last, I think, 2 years. And then me personally, they've reached out to me a couple times in the past since 2018. So yeah, check them out, yolk.com. Use code STRENGTH20. All right, let's get to today's guest. Joining me, I have Dr. Conrad Bui. Let me run through his bio real quick, and then we'll start talking to him. So if you remember a couple episodes ago, I guess it was like a year ago, we had Patrick Vuong on the podcast talking about Tiga Tactics and martial arts. Well, I have the other half of the dynamic duo here. I've got Dr. Conrad. So I'm going to run through his bio. 5th degree black belt in Tae Kwon Do and American freestyle karate. Instructor, coach in Muay Thai. Black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, guru/full instructor in New Breed Kali, guru/full instructor in Pentjak Silat Serak, Sigung, master level in Kune Silat Death Hours. Did I butcher that? Did I butcher the last word?
Detours.
Thank you. Sigung, master level in Yinglong Sing. Is that right?
Yep, you got it. Nailed
Sifu,
it.
full instructor in Jeet Kune Do concepts and certified pistol instructor. So, Dr. Conrad, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I got to say first, Evan, you've got a great voice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I never used to like it being recorded. And then when I just started doing the podcast, I was just like, I just got used to it. I was like, all right, I guess this is what I sound like to everyone. Great. So.
Yep.
So, yeah, you know, like what impresses me most is like, you're not just, you know, it takes a certain amount of level of achievement to get the black belt. And, you know, they say like what I've heard is like black belt essentially has mastered the basics, but it takes like exponentially to get to the higher levels of black belt. And like I read through your bio and it's just like, and I skipped a lot of the details. I kind of hit like the high points and it's just like an insane amount of experience. So how long have you been doing martial arts?
For over 40 years now.
Oh, geez. That's a long time.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll be even longer.
Yeah. And you're in great shape too. We'll drop a link to your Instagram handle. You're still super lean, super athletic. You still compete, right, in Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai?
Yeah, right? in Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So many questions I got. So many questions. So let's start kind of more towards the beginning. We're going to, if you're joining us for the first time, this is primarily an obstacle course racing focused podcast. But what we like to do is take people who have achieved a high level in other subjects, such as martial arts, and we take the lessons they use to get better at martial arts and just kind of apply that to obstacle course racing. So we're going to talk about martial arts for a lot of it, and we're going to kind of draw out some lessons learned as we go throughout. So, Conrad, take me through, you know, like how did you get started in martial arts?
Oh, wow. 2 reasons, and these are 2 reasons that a lot of people start in martial arts too, who I've met and asked them that same question. And the first reason is being bullied. Growing up as an Asian kid in Aurora, Colorado in the 80s was not an easy thing to endure sometimes, but you know, and kids still be kids. You know, there's the racism, there's issues of being bullied, and so that's my first reason. And the second reason is when I watched Enter the Dragon the first time when I was about 6 or 7, and wow, it just I remember the feeling of watching that and just the way Bruce Lee moved and his confidence and just him expressing the human body. I just thought, wow, this is cool. This is something I want to learn eventually, and luckily I did.
Yeah. It's funny you say being bullied, and like I look at you now and all your qualifications, and I went to a seminar with you a couple weeks ago, and you see like the end product, and like I can't imagine it going back in time. But people change over the years, so it's just interesting to hear that. And then Enter the Dragon, I feel like has brought more people into martial arts than possibly anything else in the entire world.
I agree. I definitely agree.
So you start training in martial arts. I'm guessing you started in Taekwondo. That seems to be most people's usual start.
Yeah. I started in Aikido under my father at home, and then later on, I wanted to do something like more cool, which is go to a commercial school, and later on, I started doing Taekwondo around 12 years old, and great art. If somebody's looking for a martial art where they want a great workout, Taekwondo is one of those arts because you're jumping around a lot, you're kicking a lot, you're using a lot of your major muscle groups, and that'll really help your cardiovascular, help burn fat there as well too.
Got it. So you get take me through the process now. So you get your black belt, or you get your multiple black belts, and then at what point do we start branching out into other styles?
So I started as a kid in Taekwondo, and I participated in the tournaments, the open tournaments back in the day, where there were other styles, Kempo, Kung Fu, different styles of karate that competed at the tournament. That was a really good avenue of a sport for kids as well too. Eventually, as I grew older, I got out of the sport, and I wanted to try different martial arts. And my second art was actually Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do. I trained that in college, and that really opened my mind because it's more of a concepts approach, and also Bruce Lee advocated to research outside of your art. And he also said that no one race, no one group has a monopoly on knowledge. And so that motivated me to learn outside the Taekwondo art, and even outside of Jeet Kune Do itself. Bruce Lee, although before he died, he had the best technology for martial arts, and I think the spirit of Jeet Kune Do is to continue to research, continue to refine, continue to improve. After college, I went to graduate school for chiropractic, and then at that time, all the Jeet Kune Do guys were into Kali and Silat as well too, and a specific Silat system. And Silat is a system from Indonesia, and we were all gravitated towards Silat Serak, which was brought here by the Detors brothers, one of my teachers. And at that time when I went to chiropractic college, one of the clinical professors at the college was a Serak instructor, Dr. Andre, and he took me on as a student, and I learned the Serak system from him. And when I graduated from chiropractic college, which was in San Jose, and then I'm originally from Colorado, and then I went to San Jose for chiropractic college. And when I graduated, I came back to Denver again, and that's when my Silat instructor said, hook up with Willem de Tours, which is another famous person in Silat. And yeah, just one thing led to the other. And Uncle Bill, which is what he likes us to call him, Uncle Bill. His name's Willem, but he likes us to call him Uncle Bill. And he taught a system called Kuntao Silat. And Kuntao is basically Chinese martial arts like Kung Fu, by way of Indonesia. And he taught in his backyard. And then at that time, I also I was always interested in the traditional Chinese arts. And he had a friend, Uncle Wayne, and Uncle Wayne taught Bagua Zhang. And Bagua is a Chinese art that has roots in Taoism and the Wudong Mountains. You might have heard the rap group Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
They took their name from the Wudong Mountains, and I think that the group they really like the old school kung fu movies, and so they took it from that. But the Wudong Mountains is known for like Taoism and very mystical type of things. So I learned Bagua as well too, which is a kung fu internal style. And about 14 years ago, I up and moved from Denver, Colorado to San Francisco. And in San Francisco, close to my house, there was a Muay Thai gym that I drove by. And I thought, wow, I've always wanted to try Muay Thai. And so I stopped by and signed up. Everyone was super friendly. It looked like a really cool gym. And then they had a BJJ program as well too. And I signed up for that. And I've been there since. And so that's my journey through the martial arts.
Yeah, it's like it's just so awesome that you've touched on so many different styles, and some of them are like wildly different, right? Like the Ying Lung Sing, like internal, like I'm looking at your bio as we talk, right? Being like internal based and Tai Chi, like
yes,
it's just so interesting. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum, you have Silat and like Kali and Muay Thai, which is like hard striking. So why did you explore so many? Did you just kind of like internalize the Bruce Lee's philosophy, or were you just like why do you enjoy such a broad concept there?
A couple reasons. One is Bruce Lee's one of Bruce Lee's top students, Dan Inosanto. I think he was the pioneer of breaking the mold, saying that it is possible to become very proficient in more than one system. There used to be a rumor going around, especially in the 80s in the martial arts world, that you could only master one system in your whole lifetime, and even a lifetime isn't enough. So don't even bother trying to master 2, 3, 4, or 5. But Guru Dan Inosanto, he broke that mold, and he clearly showed that you can actually be very proficient in several martial arts. And so he is one reason why a lot of people do that now. Mm-hmm. And then the other reason for me was personal. I always wanted to see what was the ultimate martial art, like which art was better than other art, especially in the context of defending yourself. And so that was my search as well too. Every art that I hopped from one art to the next and became an instructor in those arts. Each time it was that there was a dissatisfaction there in each of those arts. So Tae Kwon Do, I knew inside, you can't head kick when you're 70 or 80, and you probably don't want to do that on the street anyways, although it's a great exercise and it's a great sport for kids. That wasn't it. And even Jeet Kune Do, although we're exploring all these arts, it was just too confusing to me. There was too many arts, too many techniques, and I thought, well, that's kind of confusing. And then when I went to Silat, man, all the rumor was Silat was the bomb, maximum efficiency with your movements, maximum devastation, and Silat was awesome, but to me it didn't hold all the answers. Kuntao Silat, same thing too. It's an amazing system, very brutal, and to me it still didn't have excuse me, it still didn't have all the answers. Same thing with Muay Thai. It's a devastating sport in the ring and MMA, but it didn't have all the answers. And same with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well too. I mean, if you end up on the ground and you're proficient on the ground, that's a great skill to have. But that's not somewhere where I want to end up in a street fight either. Right. And so, all of those arts were like a stepping stone and a growth in my search for what I would consider a street effective system. And so all that frustration led me to like just say, okay, if I was in a fight, what would I use? What should I use? And so that's where it led into the Tiga Tactics.
Yeah, so I want to jump into Tiga Tactics in a minute, but your description of going through martial arts reminds me a lot of the obstacle course racing world, where we get guys that are like, this is the one brand I do, and I do not deviate outside this brand. And then you have other people who are like sampling a little bit of this, sampling a little bit of that, and they're like, oh, because every race is different and stresses like a different point of athleticism. So it just kind of reminds me of kind of like the people I hang out with, kind of exploring a little bit of everything. And we eventually we kind of find, all right, well, I do mostly this brand, but then I also sprinkle in some of these brands, and then I do whatever. But yeah, kind of interesting. So you have essentially the equivalent of 8 different black belts and 8 different styles. Is there any style that like you're still on like your bucket list? Like, all right, after I need to get this in after, or are you kind of like riding out Muay Thai and BJJ for the foreseeable future?
I thought I was done. With martial arts, I thought I was done, but then during the pandemic, I started Iaido, and Iaido is like a very traditional art. I'd say it's like it's more of a cultural art than a martial art, and it's the art of drawing the sword, the katana, the samurai sword, and it's really cool because it teaches the samurai culture and the etiquette and just the history of this very rich art, and it's more forms and things like that. And I just thought, oh, no more forms, I can't do it anymore. I just got too many forms in my head right now. But yeah, I went ahead and I've been doing Iaido for a little more than a year, and it's such a cool art.
That's awesome. All right, so take me into development of Tiga Tactics.
So Tiga Tactics was born out of my frustration and Patrick's frustration of all these arts we've gone through. And I learned in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu this law known as Hicks Law. And Hicks Law states that the more you know, there's actually going to be increase in your response time. So in other words, if I have so many techniques or so many possible avenues of responses, and let's say I'm attacked, that actually will increase my reaction time because my mind's shuffling through all this information, trying to figure out what the hell to do. And when that's happening, my reaction time drastically increases. So I had so much information that I had to kind of shuffle through everything and figure that out. And the interesting thing is all these arts and styles, every one of them, whether that was Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Tae Kwon Do or Silat, we all attacked each other in very specific ways. And I instinctively knew, well, if I was attacked on the street, that's probably not the way they're going to attack me. So since I was so involved in the martial arts, I had to go back and study lots of footage to figure out how people actually attacked you on the street. Because being involved in martial arts so much, I totally had, I was answering all the wrong questions for being attacked on the street. So that's, my first step was, and Patrick kind of did this off on his own too. My first step was to study surveillance footage and really figure out how people were attacking each other on the street. And we found out that there was 4 types of attacks that are pretty much, very life-threatening attacks that happen on the street. And then when someone attacks you on the street, it's a very basic way of attacking you. And that was just a big eye-opener for me right there, was to figure out what was the reality of the situation.
Yeah, I love that approach. So that's what I found you guys online. I think it was a year or 2 ago. And that's what drew me in. The fact that you were like, we looked at all this footage. here's what we figured out what was going on, and then you use that to craft like a response to it. It just made so much sense, and the responses you guys came up with are so they're simple to execute. Like you watch it, and you're like, oh, is that it? But then it's like you refine it, and it's like the tech. Like my wife is not going to go to martial arts classes 4 times a week like me, right? She's just not going to do it. My daughter is not going to do that. But the skills that you teach in your online programs, I can take those and teach them, and then they can be effective at obviously the more they practice, the better they'll get. But I give them like a baseline level of confidence and a baseline understanding of like what they're likely to encounter actually on the streets. And yeah, I was just blown. Like I took your guys' everyday carry program online for knives, and I was just like, oh, these guys are great. Like this is exactly what I was looking for. So I can't say enough good things.
Thank you so much. And it really is like 40 plus years in the making, because after we figured out how the attacks were, we had to look through all our arts and try to figure a logical response to these based on all the techniques that we already knew. And there's hundreds of techniques that you can use for any of these. And I think for some advanced martial artists, they're kind of put off by how simple it is, because they think it should be more complicated. And I think when somebody's attacking you, your response needs to be crystal clear in your mind what you're going to do right then and there, without having to second guess yourself. And so in essence, you're not fighting yourself because there's already somebody trying to kill you. And so you're all your focus is just on that threat right there. So that's why it's simple, and hopefully it'll reduce people's response times if they ever have to use it.
Right. Yeah, I love that you were saying it's 40 years in the making, because again, we ran through your bio, and the reason I wanted to do that first is to show that like you had so much options at your arsenal, and you like distilled it down to like essentially four things. Like here's basic types of attacks. Here's how we're going to respond. This is what we're going to use. Says essentially a slight variation of it for the different types of attacks. So it's really good system and kind of concept and brand you've come up with here. Yeah.
Full disclosure, everyone listening, Evan is an instructor with us as well too.
So that's new. We're gonna get to that. That's new. That was not when I started like really following you guys. I was just some random dude who signed up because Black Belt Magazine sent me like a discounted code, and I was like, I got some money to spend. I'll do this, and to kind of round out some of my martial arts skills.
Cool.
So speaking of that, so a couple weeks ago, as of this recording, I tell my friends, I'm going to Baltimore this weekend. They're like, oh, you going to another race? I'm like, no, I'm going for knife fighting. And they're like, what? You're going to knife fight in Baltimore? It's like, yeah, it's kind of complicated. So yeah, we went, and I took my 2 brother-in-laws that live in the area, and we went to the kind of edge weapon seminar that you and Patrick put on.
Yep.
And it was really good. It reinforced a lot of lessons. We got a lot of reps in, and you disguise the reps in game format, and we were having like competitions, and so like at the end of Saturday, I didn't realize until like you pointed out like how many reps I had simply done of like creating space and drawing a knife. And a lot of bladed systems, I feel like, start off with like, all right, we're going to do knife fighting. So everyone grab your knives and line up, and it's like, right. It's like, well, I skipped the most important part. I skipped the point where like, I have to draw the knife. And if I'm in a knife attack, like someone's going to be like right on top of me. So like, I need to create some space so I can physically draw my knife. So take me through like your methodology, because I think the methodology you use for learning skills for martial arts can be applied to obstacle course racing. So take me through your methodology for like learning a complex skill or learning a physical movement.
Yeah, all this already, but we like to start things out slow. And slow solo training. In other words, just slow training by yourself. Combat sports, of course, there's combat sports as well as defending yourself. There's another opponent there. But whenever we approach a complex skill set, especially when there's another potential source of violence from another person, we always want to start out slow in a safe environment. It's with what we call solo training. In other words, you're just training on your own. If there's a piece of equipment or something like that, I encourage people to just train without that piece of equipment first, and just try to visualize things. An art that really was focused on this was Tai Chi. And Tai Chi, everything's done slow. It's a very meditative process. But in the fact of doing it slow, you're able to be completely mindful of your body mechanics. So you're completely aware of what your toes doing, what the ball of your foot's doing, what your ankle's doing, where is your knee position, where's that hip, where's the core, where's your head in relationship to your shoulders and your hips and your knees. Those are all very important aspects to understand, regardless of the sport you're doing, whether it's tennis, martial arts, firearms training. Just having the right awareness of your body not only will improve your biomechanics, but it'll help reduce injury as well too. So we always like to start off slow, even a simple palm strike, nice and slow, and really try to figure out what our body's trying to accomplish in the most efficient way. And from that, after performing a few reps, after really understanding your body. And I think that's also a great warm-up too. It starts to move your joints, starts to increase circulation. It also improves your proprioceptive sense. So I think this is great in obstacle course, is a person's sense of balance. Where are you in space? So by doing things slow, it activates your mechanoreceptors, and your mechanoreceptors is what creates coordination for you. It's what allows you to understand where you are in space. Am I leaning too far forward? Am I leaning too far backward, to the left, to the right? Am I too twisted? By doing things slow, you're able to activate those mechanoreceptors, create that proper muscle memory, and in fact, reduce injuries as well too. I'm not sure, excuse me, is there any kind of a slow training at all in preparation for obstacle courses, Evan?
No, I wouldn't say it's slow. It's deliberate. So I mean, you're still moving at a decent pace as far as like going across obstacles. But you want to get the movements and the mechanics down first before you try to go fast. The saying that I think I've heard you use, we use in the military, like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. The same goes for obstacle course racing. Like if I'm crossing a rig and I'm like real jerky and I'm like tense, I'm like fighting my own, like my antagonistic muscles are like fighting against me, and I'm, I'm missing the holds, versus if I just focus on like, all right, grab the next ring, grab the next hold, make the transition, you move smoother, and you move, which ends up being faster, and you use less energy, which you can save then for later obstacles or for running. So it has a crossover. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, wow. That's cool. Yeah. And so like what you said, slow is smooth. And so that's our next portion of training. We try to, whatever skill we're trying to accomplish, after we clearly understand the hows and why we're moving the way we want to move, we start smoothing out the edges and start moving a little smoother. Maybe push yourself to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% at most speed. And then once you understand that and everything is in order, then you can finally go fast. And so I think that whole mantra, slow is smooth and smooth is fast, it's just a great guideline to use for training as well too.
Yeah. And even with obstacle course racing, similar, like we want the training to be progressive, right? So I don't be like, all right, I want you to run as hard as you can for a mile and then try this obstacle. because that is a hard skill. Instead,
Mm.
we focus on, all right, do just the obstacle. All right, like once you can do just the obstacle, then we'll add in like, all right, jogging before it, and then doing the obstacle, and then you can add in eventually like running and then the obstacle. And if you're having trouble at a specific part of the obstacle, I break it down even smaller, right? So, all right, you can't make, from hold 3 to hold 4 because it's like a weird shape. Instead of starting all the way at the beginning, why don't we just do a smaller portion? So we'll just do holds 3 and 4 and kind of rep that for a while and then kind of build it out and then build it out from there. So, I don't know, similar to the way for like more traditional martial arts, like the way, at least the way I practice, like a kata, like a form, right? Like I'll break it into smaller chunks and that are manageable, rep those for a while and then eventually put it together. Otherwise the beginning of the form gets, 100 reps because you're doing it every time. And then the end of the form only gets 10 reps. And sometimes you mess up and that's not ideal. So they, similar. And even with endurance obstacle course races. So like, when I go and look at a race, I don't like the race I did last weekend. Like I didn't look at it as a 12-hour race. I kind of break it into whatever I can mentally handle at the time. So I look at it, all right, it's only 9 laps, which is still really far. But for some reason, 9 laps seems a lot shorter to me than 12 hours.
So I think bouncing off what you were talking about, how you chunk it down into smaller, either break it down to smaller sections or even to smaller movements. That's something we do in martial arts as well too. I like to call it micro drilling. And so the micro drilling, and just like what you talked about, like the katas, how you like to work the beginning, middle, end, let's say, in somewhat equal parts, so that you're not just all focused on the beginning and only get 10 reps at the end of your form. I think that kind of micro drilling can be used in so many different ways. For example, let's say we're talking about like just a palm strike. The palm strike, what is it? The hand comes out and you're striking with the palm, and the hand comes back in just so that you can possibly chamber it again to strike a second time or use your hand for some other function. But if we just look at that simple motion, well, there's actually 3 steps that we can take. So we could focus on just the palm coming out and then relaxing our hand. So we could palm as fast as we can with the extension, and then just let our hand relax back. So our nervous system is focused on just one thing, the extension. You could set a timer, do maybe 30-second rounds, 1-minute rounds, 2-minute rounds, whatever you feel like doing. And then the second round, we could start with the palm extended, and then we just quickly retract it back. So, and then we slowly extend it and then retract it back fast. So now our mind, our nervous system is just training that second half where it retracts. Gotcha. And finally, the third round, you put it together and you'll actually see how fast you are, how much faster you can perform, because now your mind clearly understands come out fast, bring it back in quickly as well too. And so you'll see that your reps getting much faster, your speed improving quite a bit by doing just the micro drilling. And a palm strike's very simple, but if we break something more complex, like a kata or something, you could also create smaller drills for each of those as well too.
Gotcha. Talk to me a little bit about the importance of like consistency in training in general.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, consistency is key. I think especially in sports or martial arts, there's 1,001 reasons not to show up to training.
Yeah.
1,000, more than 1,001 reasons, and the thing is, no matter how I've felt or what kind of issues I've had in my life, I've always felt better after training, and I was always very happy that I showed up to training. So not only is consistency going to improve your performance in your sport, for me, I think it improves my life as well too. Because don't you feel accomplished after you had a great workout?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I'm sure you've had days, well, maybe not you, Evan, because you're Iron Man, but the rest of us mortals, we've had days where it's like, man, I just don't feel like working out. I don't feel it today. But those days are the days where I really have to tell myself, get your ass into the gym, man. Shut your mouth. Just get there. Just get there. And I tell my students, just show up. That's it. Just get your butt in the car and just show up. Once you're in class, your instructor will take over and just go for the ride. Even if you don't push yourself hard, 110%, and you just push yourself 80 or 60%, and you're just there for the ride, you'll still be that much better than just staying home, vegging out on the couch.
Yeah. I mean, it happens almost every day, every week. I was supposed to go to Jiu-Jitsu tonight. I got back at 6 p.m. and I was exhausted. And I was like, I just got to lay down for 5 minutes. I literally slept for 5 minutes, got up, like groggily put on my gi. And I was like, I'll be fine once I get to the gym. And sure enough, I had a, great class. It was glad I went. But beforehand, I was dreading it. And, even with runs, I don't like running for 10 hours or not 10 hours, running for 10 miles on a training day it's not like a super amount of fun. Like I don't love that. But I love the end result, right? Like I love, going to a race and doing well and that feeling of accomplishment. And I understand that there's going to be delayed gratification, right? Like I put in the work now, I put in the effort now. And when I get whatever my next belt or my next certificate or my next, podium or just finishing a race,
yes,
that's where the reward lies. And that's the feeling of accomplishment I'm chasing after.
Yep, absolutely. And going back to the consistency, I think if there is a secret to improving in anything, whether that's martial arts or obstacle course or CrossFit or whatever you want to do, the secret would be space, time, repetition.
Mm-hmm.
So that means like just doing it over and over and over after years, and you'll get good. That if there is a secret. And so it sounds rather boring, but if there is a secret to improving in whatever it is that you want to improve upon, and it could be music or tennis, basketball, badminton, it doesn't really matter. It's just showing up to class and putting in the time and just investing in yourself with that space-time repetition there.
I can't agree more. You familiar with the 10,000 hour rule by Malcolm?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's an article for our listeners up on OCR World Championships, their blog there about 10,000 hours and kind of the importance of it. And for me, for running, I mean, I played sports not very well in high school, and then, I ran my first marathon in 2003, and I didn't start obstacle course racing in 2014. So I had 10 plus years of like running experience before I transitioned into obstacle course racing. So when I started obstacle course racing, I did well from the beginning because I'd been training it and not knowing for it, but I've been training for like that sport for a long time. So, when people show up and like, oh, how do I get faster? It's like, well, you be patient and you put in time, work, like you're saying, over spread out, allow your body to recover and repeat. And then you just like ad nauseum. You need to do it to the point where it's the point where it's like, people are looking at you and they're like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're not getting better. And it's like, no, it's happening. It's just really slow.
Yeah. Well, when you become elite, like you are, Evan, there's definitely diminishing returns. Like for you to get progress, you've got to push really hard compared to the person who's maybe doing it 3-4 months. Their progression is going to be at a much faster pace than where you're at right now.
Yeah. And I could even see that when I started martial arts. I went from, I know what I looked like at the beginning, and within a couple months I was like, oh, that was terrible. And then like a couple months later, I'm like, oh, that last version of me was terrible, and then like it happens every couple of months. And
Mhm.
the improvements are getting smaller. I still can tell I'm improving, but
Mhm.
sometimes you don't quite realize it. But yeah.
Yeah, there's plateaus, and I believe there's plateaus in any discipline, and just again, space-time repetition, pushing through those things, maybe getting some advice from somebody else who's been there, done it, or even from others outside of your field. That'll help you push through those plateaus as well too.
Absolutely, which is exactly what we're doing here. Yeah. So you know, part of the Edge Weapon seminar, you talked through about a lot of the logic behind training, and I wish I would have taken written notes, because almost every slide you had, I had a story that either linked directly to either combat or obstacle course racing
Hmm.
regarding like a lesson you were trying to drive home. So it was just the whole weekend was really good. If when's you got another one coming up, I think in this fall, right, in California?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a
Yes.
little bit about what you have coming up for Tiga Tactics on the schedule.
So we have like also affiliate seminars with other companies and other groups. The next big one will be I'm doing a fundraising seminar in not this weekend, but the following weekend in California for a podcast, and then a month after that, it's the Martial Arts Super Show. That's like the big, I guess, martial arts convention thing. We're presenting Tiga Tactics there, combatives at the Martial Arts Super Show.
Nice.
After that,
My JKD instructor is going to be going to that. I'll have to tell him to stop by and say hi.
oh, yeah, I'd love to meet him. Uh, After that, I'm off to Colorado for another seminar. And then California. We're not sure, but we might be doing knife defense at that seminar there. So that's still kind of up in the air, because that's not till I think later in the year. And then we're going back over to the East Coast to do a survival seminar. So we're teaming up with a survival expert, Tim McWelch, who's a New York Times bestseller. And so we're going out into the wilderness, and he'll teach how to use, let's say, your axe for survival. And then we'll teach you how to use your axe for defense if you ever have to protect your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing with the knife. So he'll teach you how to use your knife for survival skills in the wilderness. And then Patrick and I will teach how to use the knife to defend yourself as well too. So it's kind of a unique combination, which I think a lot of preppers and zombie apocalypse type of people will love. The Walking Dead fans.
Yeah. That sounds like a great seminar. And if anyone's kind of questioning if this sounds interesting to them, or questioning if they should go, I would highly recommend it. The weekend I had in Baltimore was one of the best weekends of the year by far. I mean, both the training on Saturday and Sunday was amazing. I got to go out to dinner with you guys Saturday night, which was just a really cool experience. And then we met. So one of from the article I wrote for Black Belt Magazine a couple months ago was called "Bring Back WMAC Masters" or "Reboot WMAC Masters." And one of the guys from the '90s TV show, who has a gym in Baltimore, showed up on Sunday, and I was like super excited to see him. Like that literally made my morning. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Well, I know you're a serious martial arts nerd, Evan, if you know about WMAC Masters, and you want to bring them back too. Oh my gosh.
It's just it appeared right around the right time for my age. And it was like, it's the martial arts version of pro wrestling, and I just thought it was great. And if anyone's curious to see what it was, that you can YouTube it. So I rewatched it during quarantine. I watched every episode during quarantine. So I was like, oh, what am I doing? And it was great. Obviously very kids focused at the time, but if they bring it back, I think that, you update it obviously a little bit for the time, but.
Oh, okay. So I know we're running out of time, but would like to talk about recovery. I
Yeah.
think you guys, you really put a beating on your body. Well, and just like a martial artists do in Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai, and recovery is the other half of the coin that allows us to practice that space-time repetition of going back over and over and having some longevity in what we're doing. But just real quick, Evan, I'm curious, what is the general age of a typical age or a age range for obstacle course racers?
So I'd say it's generally low 20s to mid 30s. That's kind of the prime, right? So like 23 to 35 is, I'd say, the bulk of the competitive people. Now the sport itself is, I mean, you can get people. Yeah, I had my daughters run courses when she was 5.
Oh, wow.
And there are kids courses that are shorter, but my daughters ran like her first adult course at, I think, 5. I knew the owner. So I think the age limit was like 7 or something, but they let me on anyway. And there's a 83-year-old woman who just did a Tough Mudder in Tough Mudder, Missouri. So she's
wow.
So and my dad's been on the course. He worked as he works on my pit crew if anyone's been to Toughest, but he's 74 and he's done a Tough Mudder 5K, and then he's done KC Timber Challenge. So he's done, I think, almost all versions. They have like 4 different versions. It's a local brand based in Kansas City and Bonner Springs, but he's done by the end of July, he'll have done all versions of their race. So
wow.
Yeah, it's really fun for all ages. Kind of like martial arts, and just like martial arts, you don't have to show up trying to win. Like you don't have in martial arts, you don't have to go fight in the UFC, right? Or like or like fight in tournaments. You can just work out and get learn some life skills. And same thing with obstacle course racing. The sport is probably 5 to 10% competitive. That's like people like me, and then the other 90% is people. They're just out there to have a good time. A lot of them like drink beer beforehand. They dress up in costume. They're not even remotely concerned about time. They don't care if they fail an obstacle. Some of them are not even training. They're just literally showing up with their friends and running through the mud. So yeah,
that's cool though. That's cool. But yeah, I'd love to maybe talk about in the future. Recovery and active recovery, and especially for competitors like you who really put your body and you push yourself to the limit quite a bit, to create some of that longevity and to be in the sport longer, or not be so decrepit after beating your body up when you retire as well too. So I think that's a good topic of discussion one day.
Well, we can touch on it a little bit now. Just like working out or training, not racing, right? Like, getting nutrients in within the first hour is super important because that's going to be used to refill muscle glycogen and start rebuilding, muscle tissue there. I recommend following like more of like a bodybuilding type diet where it's, low saturated fat proteins, low glycemic carbs, and mono and polyunsaturated fats. That's generally what I recommend, but compared to like a bodybuilding diet you'd find in Flex Magazine or Muscle and Fitness, it has a higher carb content because you're burning more energy from running. That being said, as like an endurance athlete, when I run a lot, my desire for food is upregulated substantially, and I have a lot more trouble controlling what I eat. So if I stop running completely, my body fat will actually go down because I don't crave sugar. Whereas when I'm running, I crave sugar like all the time. So I have to use a lot of willpower or, I cheat a little bit because I'm like, I'll burn this off on the next run. So, and then other than that, it's important to take obviously rest days. I think in, I don't know, it depends on how often people train for martial arts, right? But like you need to take, like we were talking about, you need to take days to recover and be like, all right, well, I'm not doing anything today. I'm just going to relax and I'll maybe go for a walk if that, there's days when I'll just lay, it's a recovery day. I'm like, I'll just lay on the couch as much of the day as I can until my kids force me to get up. I race a lot. I race, I would say, too much to really perform at my best on a lot of these. But
Really?
I race like 15 to 20 times a year, and they're not all 12 hours, or they're not all 6 hours or 24. I got like 5Ks and a couple 5-milers in there and 10-milers. But I sacrifice performance for frequency of racing because I enjoy it, and because sometimes maybe I'm racing at 90%, but sometimes that's still good enough to like squeeze onto the podium. So sometimes I gamble with that and go for it. But the recovery products I use, besides obviously eating whole foods, is my favorite recovery product. Primarily for legs is Normatec recovery boots. You familiar with them?
No, I'm not.
So Normatec recovery boots are essentially these pants that you put on, and they connect to like this compressor thing, and they inflate by zones. So it essentially gives your legs a massage.
Oh, okay. I've seen those. Gotcha. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
a big blood pressure cuff.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like a blood pressure cuff for your entire legs, and they have hip versions and they have arm versions too. I just own the leg ones. They're expensive. They're like 1,000, I think 500 for them. They are expensive, but if there's any recovery product I would recommend, it is those. Normatec makes them. There's another company called Rapid Reboot that makes them, because it's the one recovery product you can put on, and I can literally lay there and not move.
Yeah.
And it feels nice versus every other form of recovery. I get, stretching takes energy and motion, and even like a percussion gun, the ones that like do the massages, even that you got to move it around. Like the Normatec boots I can put on and go take a nap, and I'm recovering. It's essentially doing a cool down jog without having to do anything, because it's just flushing that blood through your legs. So yeah, and then the last thing I'd say is take an off season for our obstacle course racer, right? Like if you're always beating up your body, at some point you need to recover. And to me, that's why I think I've had, I've been running endurance races for almost 20 years now. I think it's because between November and February, between November and January 1st, I typically don't run at all. So like 2 months, I just stop running, period.
Okay.
And then I let my body recover, let all these I usually switch to like a strength training focus to kind of round out some of my fitness. And then I bring back in running in January and, start building up again. So where people will be like, oh, I'm just going to ride. I'm still in such good shape. I'm just going to ride it through. And it's like, but you can do that for a year or two maybe. And then you get burned out physically, you might get an injury, or mentally. I think that's what stops most people from training, whether I think it is martial arts or OCR or running. Like they just mentally, getting up every day to run is exhausting, or getting up every day to train can be exhausting. So, yeah.
Yeah, burnout's a real thing, especially at your level where you're at the edge quite a bit.
Yeah. So how do you? So you've trained at a lot of schools. Some of the schools I've trained at have a high turnover rate. Is there any way that you found to like maybe keep people engaged, or like identify people that have a lower turnover rate? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think for some people, and I think this goes for any type of discipline, whether that's music or obstacle course racing or martial arts. There's a lot of people who just try it, and maybe it's just not for them.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just something I have to grapple with, because I really think martial arts is for everybody. Everyone should train martial arts like everyone should eat.
I was about to say, you're going to throw out the quote?
Yeah. Yes, I got to throw that quote out. But I need to take a step back, and it's just like any other subject. It's not for everybody, and that's one thing that I need to understand as well too. But other than that, it's just creating a safe environment for your students. Make sure it's safe, that everyone feels safe. That there should be no reason why anyone ever feels like they're in danger of injuring themselves or getting some kind of concussion or something. There should never be that. And then have fun. I think if you're having fun, you'll stick to it longer, no matter what you're doing, whether that's music or obstacle course racing. Try to have fun. Of course, bring friends with you. If it takes music for you to have fun, use that if you need to, or whatever way that you can have fun. As a instructor, I try to keep things light. I joke around a lot with my students. I also encourage my students as well too, just to make sure that they know it's safe and that they can have some fun in there as well too.
Yeah. The atmosphere at that seminar was really good. It's always weird, like walking into a new gym or dojo, and like sometimes you walk in, people are like eyeing you up, but it was very welcoming. And Mr. Dr. Scott there, the owner of the gym, was very nice and super welcoming. So that was cool.
All right. Well, I'm running out of time. I've got something I've got to head on to.
Me too.
It's been a lot of fun, and I would still love to talk more about recovery. I'm a chiropractor, and so I look at things possibly a little bit differently. But thank you for having me on the podcast. I really enjoyed my time with you.
Yeah, anytime, Conrad. Give me a call if you have any questions, and we'll touch base. All right, we're gonna let you go, and I will give our audience some other information after you sign off. Appreciate it.
All right.
We'll catch you later.
All right. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
I appreciate Conrad coming on. That was like I said, that seminar I went to was so much fun. A lot of great lessons and experience there. If anyone wants to take any of Tiga Tactics online classes, you can use code STRENGTH and SPEED. So that's all lowercase. Strength and speed is not the N symbol. It's spelled out A-N-D when you actually enter the code. And that gives you 50% off their online courses. So they have a bunch. They call it stab proof, punch proof, club proof, everyday carry, karambit. And then there's a women's self-defense course, fighting chance combatives. And there's a machete one. So the EDC Karambit was my favorite one. If anyone has any questions about any of them, I think I've taken all of them. So you can just shoot me a message and I will gladly answer them for you. Other than that, pick up on endurance, the latest obstacle course. Well, that's not an obstacle course. That's any endurance sport book. So it is phenomenal for anyone who's, whether they're doing cycling or running or swimming or triathlon, or they want to get involved in obstacle course racing. So what we did is we took lessons from the podcast and we pulled out lessons and applied them to just kind of endurance in general. And it's really like a step-by-step guide as opposed to you trying to like read a biography and figuring out what the lessons are, or, you read some of these books and they're like, no pain, no gain. It's like, yeah, that's not really good advice. That's good advice for there's specific moments when that makes sense. But as a general rule, like you don't just apply that to every situation. So what I really did was try to take it step by step and give you like, all right, do this, now do this, now do this, now do this. When you show up to a race, here's some guidelines you need to adhere to. So check out on Endurance. I got the digital and hard copy on Amazon, or you can order the hard copy from me if you want it signed. Other than that, at the time of this publication, my OCR Everest charity event for 2022 should be done. So hopefully that went well. I will check out the video that Bobby Ross is producing. I'm not sure what channel it's going to be on. It might be on Tough Blender. It might be on my personal page. It might be on Strength and Speed. We're not sure where we're publishing that, but look for it. I'll drop the link in it in the show notes below. Make sure you check it out. Bobby Ross always does phenomenal work. And then please donate to Infinite Hero Foundation. The fundraiser, every dollar helps us get a little bit closer to the goal. So please donate, even if it's only like $1. The thought really counts a lot for me. So when I see someone's name I recognize on there, or someone's name I don't recognize, the fact that they take the time to even just donate $1, a couple dollars, like, the price of a cup of coffee, whatever it is, really just helps get that a little bit closer. Got 2 articles up on OCR World Championships website, the 10,000 hour one, and then kind of a general guideline, kind of a construct for how to train for grip obstacles. Kind of basically you mimic the hand movement, mimic the body motion, and some other good tips. So you can head over to OCRWG's website, check out their blog, sign up for their races. Also, we got Battle of the Lions is back in action. They got 3 races this year. Kansas City should have passed already. There's the same weekend as OCR Everest. And then we've got Dallas coming up and Oklahoma City. All right, I think that's about it for now. We'll catch all of you later. Thanks for listening. Thanks again, Conrad, for coming on. If you enjoyed this episode, head back and listen to the Patrick Wong episode that came out last year. And you can get a little more information about Tiga Tactics. And then I'll drop some links in the show notes down below for Tiga Tactics, and as well as the 50% off code down below. All right. We'll catch all you later.